Caught my cheating wife at a secret hotel. My wife was surprised when I gave her divorce papers in the hotel lobby. Hello everyone, I hope each of you is doing great. I am writing on my phone, hence apologies for any mistakes. This is a rather long and disorganized tale. I have nowhere to negotiate this problem as I have run out of my rope. Little background. My SO is 40 and I am 43. Married for 16 years, we have 2 children, a 9-year-old boy and a 14-year-old daughter. At first, our marriage was somewhat turbulent, but we worked through those difficult years and came out much different. We married young, hence maturity wasn't completely there yet. Nevertheless, we knew we loved each other and could overcome any challenge standing between our marriage. Whether this was wishful thinking still remains a question. Still, I have been in engineering for 7 years while my wife has worked for 3 years as a manager in a very large advertising agency. Our careers pay nicely and have given our family a quite nice way of life. We were a rather close family. As parents, we always made sure our children could create wonderful memories. We always found time for our children no matter how busy we became. To be honest, I think I'm a decent husband and dad. When it came to my wife, I occasionally messed up. But I did everything for this woman, and it really shook me to my very core to learn she was having a long-term affair. Which leads me to the revelation. My wife was acting far away. Actually, the last 2 years preceding this one were the toughest. She just seemed to enjoy nothing I did. Yes, I know now. She would constantly tell me how her boss would handle this or that and continually contrasting me with her employer. Not able to grasp her mind. She can, however, ask her supervisor. Make her feel unique and avoid starting the initiative to take her on dates. Her supervisor does that for his wife though. Why was my immaturity so extreme? I would want to know how she wanted me to liven up our marriage. Her usual response was, "Don't ask, you need to already know and do it." So since I knew nothing, I investigated and bought books, anything. The response has to come from someone else. Everything I tried was greeted with either half-hearted thanks or bitter disappointment. In the years I have known her, my wife was never like this, therefore I felt that my failure to make her happy was something I really had to address. Little did I know, the entire time the repairing was being done by someone else. We were really close to her employer and his wife. They have children as well. The children adored one another. We brought them to our family trips to the park, barbecues, arcade gaming days. We have gone to theirs and they have visited our place many times. Not surprising that we grew close. When I told her boss about our marriage issues, he offered wise counsel. He seemed to be a great man. Still back to the discovery though. The demands of my wife to better myself where the marriage was concerned had emotionally worn me out. Her attitude really surprised me since, up until now, I had felt our marriage was wonderful. She was thus busy chuckling and laughing one night while messaging someone. Curious, I was also next to her in bed. She fiercely pushed away from me the instant I leaned to get a look. She asked me right away what I was doing, furious. She withdrew to the restroom when I told her I wanted to find out what the joke was and she said it was none of my business. That is the day I realized, deep down, that there was an affair of sorts underway. Though I lacked evidence as well. The next day I asked her straightforwardly, making a mistake. She was enraged and claimed no guilt. I wanted the truth badly even if I lacked access to her phone. She balked when I asked for her phone. She handed me the phone hesitantly only later in the evening. She deleted almost every text message she sent to particular individuals. I could tell since some of the exchanges sounded contradictory and others seemed absolutely ludicrous. I returned the phone to her, and we didn't talk about it until a month later when I got a friend to check the phone and retrieve erased texts. My wife had received another phone earlier and seldom used the one she handed me. Some books were found, and it was via bits and pieces that I at last found evidence of an affair underway. And you already figured it out, with her supervisor. I waited since I knew she would find some way to wiggle out of it if I addressed her then and there. But I was a wreck too. My only thought was on how it would impact the children. The scenario was terrible. I started crying in front of my friend. 3 days later I ordered How to Help Your Spouse Heal from an Affair, still not ready to give up the marriage. If you are shaking your head, it is okay. I began reading, expecting that if I showed my wife, she would stop this crap. I wanted the marriage saved and my wife back off. She had told me they had an emergency at work and not to wait for her, so I had intended to chat to her on that Saturday to sort things out. Of course, I called the office on the day to verify the narrative she told me and got no response. Saturdays are not open. I tried her phone but there was no response. On Sunday, around 2 in the morning, she returned home, showered right away and went to bed. When I questioned her about her late arrival, She sidestepped the inquiry by claiming she had already advised me not to wait for her. I was tired of this. I left her the book I purchased absent-minded. She did not care. I was hurting. She didn't care when she saw me in agony. To find out, I asked the wife of her boss whether she knew anything. I still don't regret doing it since I was so yearning for stability. Finding out startled her as much as it did me. She wanted to face her husband, but I advised her he would most likely lie and try to cover it like my wife did. We got together at her residence to go over what was happening, and I handed her the meager evidence we had. She needed further proof, hence we both set out to compile data on our respective sides and then compare them. Starting to spy more on my wife, she followed suit with her husband. She found clear evidence quite easily on her end. Her husband was so conceited that he omitted deleting the texts on his phone between him and my wife. The small notes I'd discovered earlier at last made sense, and we now knew 2 years had been the duration of the affair. I was enraged, just as the wife of the employer was. I wanted retribution on them as well as she did. Everywhere they slept, her house, my house, fancy hotels, business travels. Reading all that made one queasy. They even emailed each other pictures, but we decided to overlook them since we wanted not to damage ourselves with the pictures. Though not an affair ourselves, we sought retribution. We both resolved that they could have each other if they so desired. About the same time, we each gathered divorce paperwork. We were dead set on it. We acted our part. Our husbands were unaware of what we knew. Our ducks were back then in a row, once more. This time, working with the wife of the boss, we knew exactly where and how they would be received. We knew the motel they had reserved for their good weekend. I visited there together with the sheriff. While the sheriff arranged everything, I waited in the lobby. My wife was called to come down from her room. She dropped down wearing a bathrobe and, I worry, nothing else. She was terrified and asked me furiously what I was doing there. Though not too distant, it was rather a distance from our house. The sheriff wanted her name and details confirmed. She responded ambiguously in the affirmative and was served. Seeing the startled expression on her face was quite fulfilling, but I chose to leave knowing the job was done as I did not want to bring it under discussion. She held my arm, dragged me back and insisted on knowing what the meaning of this was not letting me. You had an affair, I told her, and I'm leaving you, simplified. She began shouting at me then grabbed my arm firmly. The sheriff had to intervene and order her to release me immediately. She told me she could explain, that I had the wrong notion, and that it was my fault. She started crying. I left fast to get home since I was getting enraged. When my wife told her boss, he fretted. According to what I was told, he hurried home only to find himself served. We gave them no time to straighten their heads. We blindsided them exactly as they did us. While hers might take some more time, my divorce will be finalized in a few months. On the divorces, both my wife and her supervisor have been battling us. Neither want to file for divorce. The reasons I have heard are that they never meant to leave their husbands, that it was only a purely sexual affair and nothing more, that people have worse indiscretions and still come out with a fantastic marriage, that they messed up and would like a chance to right things. What, I asked my wife, do you suppose the result of all this is? She said she is not that person anymore and said she was following the flow and behaved totally against nature. She is a moron, I told her. For not giving my wife another chance, others around me are labeling me horrible. Though they would want it if we stayed together, my children know what is going on, age appropriate, and they are backing me 100%. We still reside in the same house, hence my resolve is weakening along with the fact that my wife is reading the book I purchased and attending therapy. It's becoming more difficult to keep to my guns. She claims to be sorry and will perform all necessary actions. All I need to know is that she is sorry she got caught. She has labeled me as a sour, angry person unable to go past all the negativity. Later she apologizes for it, but I know that's how she feels. I still speak with the boss's wife, and my wife completely detests it. She believes the boss's wife is the reason I won't be giving us another chance or that I will be having a vengeance affair. Like she did with her boss, she has insisted on my starting no communication with the wife of the boss. She is nuts, I told her. We did nothing illegal, why should I now accept her points of view? See, I believe I've finished. I respect nothing about her. She is still not ready to give up and is actively interacting with me about her ideas and procedures concerning the affair. I find them as justifications, hence I ignore her. She asks me to accompany her for therapy. I was thinking, hell no, as I have seen in numerous instances where the therapist blames the victim. She wants me to read books about infidelity with her. Given that we are likely to divorce regardless, what good is this? She is close-minded. She would not be able to control me with sex, I informed her. She says she just wants to show me how much she loves me and it's not manipulation. Correcting her, I responded, "Love me now, you mean?" People around me, including my mother, are annoyed with me as they believe that mistakes are inevitable and my wife understands from her errors that she really loves me. I assured others I would never be someone's backup plan. Treating her the way I do makes me terribly guilty. Though there is hate involved, I still love her. Am I treating her unduly cruelly? She is trying quite hard, but I have no interest. Should I go back over the divorce? People say I should slow down. I shall regret it. I am moving too quickly. Yes, that is accurate. I'm not sure what is actual from what is not. Edit. I appreciate all of you spending time to answer my predicament. After reading all of your comments, some of you address some really pertinent issues. I will talk with my wife right now. Though I will keep you informed, I believe divorce is the best path for my children and myself. Reading from here has been beneficial. Update for the narrative. Alright, I'm back once more. I'm trying a second time since I have been receiving emails requesting an update. Appreciate your concern, folks. I would want to clear certain things since I can see your curiosity. First of all, right now my wife and I find ourselves in a type of decent state. Not because we are reconciling. No, I am still divorcing her. Taken down by the automod, the previous update I uploaded thoroughly described our circumstances. The brief story is that my wife is still hankering after another opportunity and is acting accordingly to acquire it. I won't give it to her as her affair was far too long for me to recover. Should it have been a one-night stand, the narrative might have been different, but 2 years is simply a slap on the face. I love her still and am not a monster, hence I have attended a few therapy sessions with her. One session was really excellent and let me see that my wife really regrets it. She has been trying pretty darn hard, but she has not been flawless in how she managed the aftermath from her affair. Her anger at me for constantly contacting the boss's wife and her fear of a vengeance affair made the second session a catastrophe. We argued a lot later since I refused to do what she requested, which was no communication with the boss's wife, therefore it was the angriest I had ever gone through this whole situation. That was settled after I assured her there wouldn't be a vengeance affair. Though I know I owe her nothing, she is still my wife until our divorce, hence I still want to keep my word. I have been visiting a couple of more meetings with her merely to observe her improvement. This therapist is indeed an individual and marriage therapist. I'm not attending these meetings since, deep down I want to save our marriage. If only I could watch my wife's development personally and help if necessary. I'll gracefully step away following the divorce. Still leaving her husband is the wife of the boss. Her husband is still contesting her on the divorce. She is as strong as I am, and I will say we do have low days with each other. We are only cordial with each other. I still see no affair taking place. She is a strong, self-reliable woman who does not, expletive, anyone. Right now my children are good. They understand that we love them no less simply because we are divorcing. Although they encourage us not to divorce, they see why it's right for our age. My wife works somewhere instead of the advertising company now. She quit not too long after I visited her. She claims to have kept absolutely no contact with her previous supervisor. She applied that advice and sought assistance on saving the marriage on forums. After seeing my wife work her butt out to be a better person, I can see the appeal even though initially I didn't understand why people stayed with adulterers. She's not a monster. She's simply flawed and made terrible decisions from which she is learning improvement. She has extended to me everything under the sun to give another go. Not sure I have it in me either. I feel more at peace the closer a final divorce seems to be. She recently begged to have a chance following divorce, and we had a lengthy conversation about this. She has extended a postnup offer. Although I wasn't totally against it, it would be a somewhat long road for her to travel for me to even consider as an option. She seems really eager, but honestly I don't see how that would help any of us. Mostly driven by a momentary feeling of justice, I want this divorce. Without compromising myself to the level of an adultery, this is the only justice I can obtain. After I told more about my wife's affair, my mother and I made up. Today, she's rather angry with my wife after finding out the specifics. I'm not sure how I would negotiate one. Rant. Affair for revenge? Alright, I wanted not to write here until my divorce was finalized, but right now I'm just annoyed and really want to rant. Like many of you, my wife is terrified about a revenge affair. The straightforward explanation is that I still get in touch with and see the other woman I betrayed. Against the other betrayed partner, my wife feels somewhat insecure. Is that how it is spelled? Younger, a model, quite beautiful, and runs a profitable company as the other deceived partner. It makes my wife suspicious that I would yield to temptation and cheat on her in return. The nerve of her to deliver me the two wrongs don't make a right lecture still astounds me. She isn't wrong, of course, and I never intend to follow through. Still, her hypocrisy bothers me. Like yesterday, every time I visit the other betrayed husband, my wife becomes somewhat depressed or very clingy. She has thrown herself at me several times to make sure I do not cheat on her back, but I'm not sure how many. Her advances are turned down, and that further aggravates things. The deceived have to struggle along and try to pick up the pieces while cheaters are thus selfish, just thinking about themselves and their suffering. Besides, our children still see their children. Although I never go to the other betrayed partner without my children, my wife still believes I have it in me to be as merciless as she was and sees every chance to attack the lady. Laughable, expletive. OM is still residing in their vacation house and begs the other betrayed partner to bring him back. I am not going to lie, seeing him suffer the repercussions makes me very happy. Given my degree of leverage on him, he has not tried threatening me. He has to cope with my ongoing communication with his wife. He makes sure I'm not around when he visits since he is allowed to see his kids whenever he wants but does not want to see me. To be honest, I pity the man. My wife has been really contrite lately. She has lavished me with love, which I just push aside. I'm not in a good frame of mind. Today is our therapy session. I feel like releasing all the suffering and hurt I have gone through thanks to her. My anger has become intolerable. Update. Well, here I am checking in. Not especially fresh to report to you folks. Only a few things have evolved though. Reviewing my conversations and postings helped me to see how wonderful this location is for helping people just like us. To help me to see my circumstances better, I have been reading a lot of material about infidelity. Still, during a recent therapy appointment with my wife, she asked that I give her a little more time to win me back. She had reason after reason why it would be a good idea for me to at least try and see if I could assist in restoring our marriage, not quite reconciliation yet. I kept bringing up the fact that her primary motivation was the fallout from her affair. She wouldn't be trying if she still saw OM. For months she emotionally mistreated me. I'm not the kind of person to be walked all over, even by the woman I loved. She owned all of her mistakes and once more apologized. She has promised me so much of making it up to me. She believes it is possible and wants our marriage to be stronger than it has ever been. Having plenty to spare, I asked her whether she would be ready to tolerate my wrath. She was like, absolutely. And she would like me to dump on her anytime I feel like it to help me process the grief. Usually, I got a million excuses when I questioned her why she had an affair. She was honest this time, telling me there was no justification for what she did and that she would spend every day for the rest of her life demonstrating to me by her actions that she was really regretful and would never hurt me that way again. She genuinely dumped emotions onto me, and it helped me to realize that she truly was rather insecure about herself and envious of the other betrayed partner. Her ego shot skyward from the affair. She loved feeling beautiful and wanted. She would never last and admitted the encounter was most certainly a fantasy. She considered the ramifications from time to time but scarcely gave them any thought overall. She regrets having the affair and claims she will live with this guilt the rest of her life. She most likely will never forgive herself. She informed me she could never hold a candle to the other betrayed spouse, and the reason she was so sure I would cheat again was because the other betrayed spouse is not only gorgeous but also a lady with integrity. Not once has the other betrayed partner ever threatened her or behaved meanly toward her. It was all my wife's fears, and maybe the fact I was furious with her for turning on me. It gets fascinating here. The therapist asked me what it would take for me to give my wife's offer some thought. Not one thought came to me. Since what I presently have is a fake of a marriage and I never signed up for it, I was honest and told her, a time machine. She informed me that every marriage deals with issues ranging from death to adultery. How those issues are handled reveals the resilience of a marriage. I told the therapist to concentrate on my wife instead of us as I really couldn't believe where this talk was leading. The therapist advised me that my incapacity to pay attention to logical arguments could be a communication-wise issue. I agreed not to disagree. During the journey home, my wife and I had a long conversation. She asked whether her affair had made me feel emasculated. Given she had never asked me that prior, the question really caught me off guard. Sure, I said. She startled me by wondering if sleeping with another woman would make me feel better. I reminded her once more that I am not, nor will I ever be, a vengeful lover. She clarified that she was referring to a trial separation whereby I would go get my mojo returned. She will stay true and wait till I'm good and ready to return to the marriage. Before, I felt she was desperate, but her idea seemed insane. I questioned her how that would help the marriage in any form so that both partners can be having affairs. She informed me it would not be an affair as we would be separated under conditions allowing my freedom to see other people. She answered that we were divorcing anyhow, so if this doesn't help us, at least I could see what the outside world has to offer. I told her that is a great risk on her behalf. She appeared completely out of character to suggest it, hence I clearly rejected the proposal. For the past few weeks, my wife has been remarkably quiet and patient. She is unlike the wild, insecure one I used to know. Naturally, I should not trust her for my personal benefit. It is quite challenging though. She has been really giving in the divorce, even if she doesn't want it. Though not my case, I have read so many stories of divorces turning acrimonious. Being in this state is rather surreal. It is challenging to negotiate. Edit. Let me also make clear, I am still completely going with the divorce. Hearing people's impressions of this interests me. Edit. Back once again. Hello to each of you. I have another update on this sorry condition of my life. I want to thank the people who keep contacting me in support before I get into that. My wife and I have thus decided to be courteous now and celebrate the holidays as a family. Though my wife is still hoping otherwise, this will be the final holiday ever observed. This was for the benefit of our children. I have loving children. Our divorce will be official midway through February. For those of you who are interested, we have shared everything half and half, although she has been quite giving on her side. She might become nasty later, but so far she has been good and tells me it's because I have been a terrific husband and parent. She feels I should get more than a fair divorce considering all she has done. Still don't know whether it's a technique. Though I do gain somewhat more thanks to her, that is not to imply she will lose a lot out of the divorce. I have chosen to cease attending sessions with her. It was confusing her and offering false hope. She has said that she has a strong desire to be close to me all the time and that her affair made me feel emasculated and unwanted. She has been attempting to have sex with me rather often, and I mean quite often. To be honest, my wife seldom started sex before all of this, so I felt a little offended that she was doing it now. I came to value her seeing this as a hang-up of mine and her desire to fix it over time. Though I have turned her down, she continues fiercely claiming that this has nothing to do with reconciliation and that she only wants me to feel good and desired. For now, I have shut off communication with the other betrayed partner since things were becoming somewhat too personal for my taste. I suppose you were not far off when the person mentioned I was having a vengeance affair. It wasn't even anything I knew till the other betrayed partner admitted she wanted to try and see where our relationship would develop. She said she would wait to start anything until my divorce was official. We have agreed to take a vacation from each other till everything is settled as I was somewhat perplexed and had no explanation for her. The second betrayed partner is a beautiful woman, but I'm not sure whether I could make her feelings back off. I have very little idea how to manage that. Someone suggested that her future reconciliation with her husband is being hampered by being near the other betrayed partner. I guarantee you that nothing I do relates to her choosing to leave OM. She is done with him and that is all. When we are together, we do not discuss our spouses negatively. OM personally visited me lately to atone for all that happened. He was usually an arrogant man, hence this event really helped him to grow humble. His apologies did not sit with me. Though I wouldn't say expletive about what he is going through, call me petty. Is it alright for me to have sex with my wife even if we are not getting along? I do admit I miss having sex. I sorely miss the closeness and intimacy of it all. New lingerie, sexting, touching, letters, etc. My wife is eager and has been trying everything possible to start it, and sometimes I find it difficult to resist. Honestly, I just didn't care to know exactly where they had sex, so she even threw away, destroyed, and replaced everything that had to do with OM at my house without my asking her to. Switching off these emotions is difficult for me. Is this a catch-up? Am I the one being played? I wanted her here as it's less of a hassle until the divorce is finalized. Before someone says kick her out of the house, I've already tried that. Rant. At last I understand it. Though she was nothing but worthless, I felt I squandered all these years on a woman. Nevertheless, she produced wonderful memories and children. As a man, these things I will never forget and value greatly. I am going to do better than her though, and at last I realize I am better than her. People have come flooding in offering me guidance on how to handle this. I realize at last that I am deserving of better than her. She twisted me over, put me down, and made me feel less than when another man paid her any attention. She actually gave another man her all. It still shocks me that I'm at last realizing I am over her. She only now does all it takes to maintain me. She is now focusing her effort on us. She used to not care, however now she wants me to be happy. She now desires to be this daring sex partner for me. Though it was never amazing, I enjoyed our sex. I can now clearly see what I have missed. Her writings with let me know only the surface of the graphic nature of their trysts. Now, despite her past relative slowness, she wants to show me just how much she loves me. The lethargic sex tells volumes to me. While earlier it was all about giving her attention and providing for her at the same time, now she gives me space and is pleased and supportive of all I do. She now respects my bounds and surpasses them to add more. She now views me as the king I wanted her to see, but no. First I had to smother her off her pedestal first. She is the perfect woman right now, yet it seems transitory to me. She now tells me everything exactly, very open. She is quite honest as well, even if it may make her embarrassed or offended. Before, I don't believe I have ever seen any woman looking constantly ashamed on her face. She wishes this affair never had a place. She kicks herself quite a bit every day. When I am simply not responsive to anything she does, I can see the desperation on her face. She tries to cover it, but she seems so unhappy. Though occasionally I detest myself, to me it's necessary. Why cannot I consider this as a good thing? Why cannot I criticize her now for her actions? They exhibit regret, right? Many have LTAs and come out even more powerful than before. Why am I making decisions based more on feeling than on a point of mature objectification? While I enter another dubious relationship, someone else will end up receiving the better and upgraded version of her. When everything seems to lead to something decent for the future, why not strive for this? These are the lines I have been handed. My response is that I will not tolerate disrespect. Perhaps I was eager in the early phases of research, but I woke up from that fast. This is to respond to those who have routinely asked about my position and messaged me. This Christmas I will be spending it with my whole family and then moving away from my wife. To retain my wife's grip over me and go totally from the concept of her, I resolved to cease listening to the garbage I produced in my thoughts. Neither will I be giving us another shot nor dating her. We are done for good. My wife is not a villain, and that is the truth. She should be happy too, but it will never be with me. She has personally shown me that. When I absolutely hit rock bottom, I phoned the other betrayed partner today and promised her supper after the holidays for her support. She mentioned she would really like it. Although I know this isn't common, we truly helped each other all through this and I owe her thanks. I really didn't know before people started discussing how much I intended this with OBS. For the past few years, my feelings have been so twisted that the whole idea of another lady never crossed my head. And dinner is it, nothing else unless both of us really want it. But the closer the divorce approaches, the more I see I really have choices. One such alternative has been right there. Regarding I have nothing to say about the man. Not a flying expletive. I will inform any woman as I do not believe I will marry once more. Though my divorce has not been particularly difficult, I am nonetheless losing a lot of money. Today, the whole concept of marriage seems to be a hoax. I apologize for just now being so cynical. Though I'm jaded, I want this essay not to insult anyone. I realized how little I got back after giving this lady my best years. Happy holidays, you won't be seeing me for some time. Update, formally divorced. It has been long since I expected. I did say earlier that I will be returning here for the final update. That ends. Formally, my ex and I have split ways permanently. It happened around 3 weeks ago. For the better part of several days following the event I mourned as though I had lost a loved one. That my marriage failed so spectacularly really affected me rather strongly. Ever since I initially found out about the affair, I never shed tears that strong. I also railed a lot, most likely one of my lowest points. Everything has been set up for my ex, partly on my behalf for the children. She left the house, I am attempting to buy her out of her portion of it. She currently resides in an apartment, a somewhat large downsize for her, and it basically makes her depressed. She still visits the therapist and remains committed to reading and researching infidelity. Not exactly sure why. With little physical touch, we have had long chats both before and following the divorce. She is the mother of my children, hence even if I know I shouldn't be entertaining her right now, we should be decent co-parents. Thanks in great part to this group and others, I am nothing except logical about the matter. Of course, it's the same song. She wants to reconcile, and I believe it would be too dangerous for me to put myself in the same circumstances once more. I regret not feeling the right mood to present her the gift. I went to supper with the other betrayed partner this past weekend solely for companionship and conversation. We covered a lot of ground. Things grew flirtatious between us, and I have to say I was somewhat hesitant to welcome the fast-shifting mood. I suppose I should say that the evening concluded with quite fervent intensity. I'm sorry for the TMI. Most likely, the most amazing sex I have ever experienced. OBS is quite much a giver, Spades above my ex. Although I had no intention of it going that far, the other betrayed partner was eager and I too was. Learned quite a few more LOL tricks in the sack. First time I had someone that was eager to satisfy me rather than the other way around. She divorced her ex, thus I guess I shouldn't call her the other betrayed spouse anymore, but for privacy's sake I will just use that. To be honest, I do not see us advancing our relationship. That evening, I suppose the hormones and booze got the best of us. Though I'm not sure she would want to. I believe she also helps me to arrange myself emotionally. Still, I feel really terrific. Although this may not be what people want to hear, the sex I had with the other betrayed partner greatly helped with my remaining self-esteem problems. Desired, living, and at last I knew what I was missing. I will never accept artificial sex once more. Knowing that I did not lose my morals and was not cheating made me more fulfilled. All things considered, I'm really pleased with how I handled all this mess. Though not flawless, I did the best I could. Though I did lose a lot of money in this process, I am most likely coming out really lucky compared to many BHS. But it was because I was ready to listen to those with knowledge rather than mindlessly wishing for the best. I will thus be eternally appreciative of you people. You and everyone who listened to me helped me to avoid even further losing my value. Summary. Respect you. Never, never tolerate disrespect from anyone else, not even from individuals closest to you. Everybody is entitled to a happy, contented relationship. Never accept your partner's leftovers. Every committed partnership should feature a satisfying and healthy sexual life. Do not accept it if your partner is not giving you their all but did so in an affair or before with someone else. Just state your discontent. I am not encouraging rape or sexual abuse. If your spouse is not ready to meet your desires, do not settle for dull sex unless both of you agree. One can walk away from that without trouble. Share, interact, share. I cannot underline how very vital that is. Should you ever be betrayed, only you can really recover? I needed a long time to grasp this. Though that's all I can currently think of, there are many more. I'll be here to respond to your comments, but I'm done blogging here permanently and moving on with my life in around a few hours from now. Have a nice one, everyone. Right now, things are good. Update. Hey folks, people wanting to find out how my issue is going have been flooding me with emails. I still get triggered here and there, hence I have been deliberately avoiding everything involving adultery. Having this in mind, I am still working through the trauma. I try not to dwell too much on it, hence I've been absent from this site and others in order to move on. But given so many people are worried about me, I will reassure you and provide an update. I'm good, no mishaps, no poof, I'm off the face of the earth. I'm still in IC and my girlfriend is the other betrayed partner. With regard to child custody and money, she resolved her matter with OM. She should have handled that sensibly instead of being vindictive and dragging him to the cleaners. The children do have some conflict over all this, and we are working as well as we can to handle it. We have to start therapy for them to ensure they appropriately adjust and realize that their relationship with the other betrayed partner has minimal influence on them. Still, we do take them into account when it comes to the way this is handled. Not everyone is on board, hence this is really difficult. OM, my ex and my daughter do not enjoy being around each other. I'm not joking here. There's conflict when those two are near one another. I really believe both of them blame the other for how things turned out. My ex still wants a second chance and is most likely offended that the other betrayed partner stands in the path of me seeing things clearly and not tossing away what we have eternally. This woman is so misled, her antics really concern me. She tried something at a friend's 4th of July celebration. I closed it, although I suppose it was not sufficiently strong. Though you guys were right, she wants to come crawling back in a bad way. I did not believe the individuals claiming she would be pining for me. The other betrayed partner is letting me handle that. But she's also becoming sick of my ex too. Did I mention my ex's passionate loathing of the other betrayed partner? Ever since I left her for someone else, my ex has been a train wreck. But I truly thought she was improving herself. I treated her better than I treated anyone else in my life, hence she treated me like garbage and I still don't get it. But the instant I respond F you, she is backflipping to grab my interest. I'm not sure whether I ought to be offended over this. There you have it. Now everyone can relax. Regarding my daughter, I get anxious. Hello everyone. I am new to this sub but not new to Reddit. Actually, I have been searching for suitable references to handle my current circumstances. Though I'll outline it below for you all, feel free to review my history to obtain a better backdrop. Ex-wife of mine had an affair. It ran for over 2 years. My ex-wife compared me to our OM a lot and was really nasty to me during this period. Our sex life was worse than it had been before, And at first I blamed all of my failings. I didn't have a straightforward strategy to leave her once I found the affair, but it gradually came to pass. One weekend she departed to hang out with OM and lied to me about it. I contacted the other betrayed partner and we worked together to divorce each of our respective wives. The affair was revealed to our age-appropriate children during this process under a "mommy broke a promise to daddy" kind of conversation. Not specifics, only that we were heading our different directions but yet loved them very much. Though of course they didn't want the divorce to occur, which is also quite reasonable, they took it as well as anyone would want. Although my ex-wife has been relentlessly advocating for reconciliation, I wasn't there to provide her another chance. Understanding it wasn't about me, I forgave her and wanted to be done with the relationship. The divorce grew more expensive the closer it approached completion, although the financial harm was not too severe. I also have to say that the other betrayed partner and I began a gradual relationship immediately following the divorce. It was first like FWB, but these days it's far more serious. Had it not been for our mutual support during the aftermath of the affair, I most certainly would still be with my cheating ex, that or murdered myself, half joking. Still, I constantly chat to my children to find out how they are handling this. I strive to make sure our talks are honest. If they object to my relationship with the other betrayed partner, they can let me know so. I wouldn't be insulted since I want to avoid putting them in a position that would cause problems down the road. 10-year-old son likes OBS. Given her age, 15, my daughter would rather have a little more time adjusting to the new dynamic. She says she doesn't want to meddle with my connection with the other betrayed partner and she wants to see me happy. I told her I wanted her to be happy too, even if it is not her place. She can say so, and I wouldn't mind, if she prefers the other betrayed partner. She claims she just needs some time and is good with the other betrayed partner. About good partnerships, we have had several conversations with them. My daughter and I have had a lot of conversations regarding her concerns and worries. She seems generally quite helpful to me thus far. The other betrayed partner, and my son, daughter and her 2 daughters are very subtle in our relationship so as not to overwhelm all the other engaged children. Everyone, even OM, is in therapy. But that is a different matter entirely. This is clearly an unusual circumstance, as you can observe, which brings me back to my kid. The affair and choices taken have clearly affected her relationship with her mother. She tells me straightforwardly that she hates her as none of this would have happened without her. She is quite defiant with her mother. She pushes off her mother's attempts at affection, sulks when it is her turn to take her, and even curses at her once, which results in me stepping in and instructing her to be respectful, which she followed in that incident. The two had argued, and it worries me greatly that my daughter is suffering in such a severe degree. Though there is only so much she can do on her own, my ex-wife is attempting to cope as best as she can. Since I chose to divorce, she wants my help in restoring a relationship with her kid. She was the one who cheated. I could toss her right back off. I am above that, yet it calls into question how I handled this. Concerns I have. My daughter respects nothing about her mother. My daughter doesn't know her mother mistreated her. She wants things to be back as they were. Although my daughter is in treatment, I'm not sure how much it is benefiting her. She seems overburdened since she believes she has no voice or control over the circumstances. She has managed my relationship with the other betrayed partner really effectively, but I worry she is suppressing her feelings. Divorce of their mother seems like I might have damaged their lives. Though I'm not returning to that poisonous person either. I really value any advice. Update: I know you folks are worried about me. Hey everybody, sure, I saw your chat requests and emails. I'm sorry for not getting back. I'm not active here anymore, but I am very much aware that some have been attempting to follow up on my position and this update will help to allay your concerns. Not a happy ever after, be advised. First let's start with the large elephant in the room. How are the other deceived spouses and I doing? Actually, amazing. Years ago, I would have gone after a woman like her if I realized she existed earlier. LOL. All joking aside, other from her I have never had a closer bond with any lady. I had no idea what a good relationship looked like as my ex-wife put me through the grind so often. Though I still have self-doubts, the other betrayed partner is a great friend and has supported me through this. I really love this gal quite a bit. I feel the same way about her and she has repeatedly shown me, time and time again, that I mean a great deal to her. Nothing more than a girlfriend though. I have questions about the entire concept of marriage. We still conduct things behind closed doors and minimize involving the children in the full relationship process. Indeed though, the children are aware of our courting. Regarding the children, their start was really difficult. Who am I kidding? But right now they are getting along really nicely. I believe it largely relates to our close involvement in their life and ensuring they had someone to talk to when they encountered difficulties. Many therapies as well. Love the other betrayed spouse to bits, my daughter and son do. She interacts with children quite naturally. Her kids enjoy me much more than they did about 2 years ago. To really surprise me, her youngest began telling others that I'm her stepdad at events and gatherings I took her to. She said she loved me a lot and I made her mom happy, so she's happy I'm her stepdad. I was scared she felt forced to see me that way. You have no idea how emotional I became upon learning that. It felt like a ton of bricks from nowhere, but I did present a brave front. Though they presented a unified front to mercilessly taunt my son, the only boy and youngest of the bunch, I enjoy seeing my kids contentedly playing with OBS. Indeed, I'm not sure whether I should smile or grimace at that one. How about my unfaithful former partner? We get along rather well. She has been working very hard on her own to mend her relationship with her daughter. I was pleased when my daughter informed me she could find it in her heart to forgive her mother for what she did. Over these years, they have gone through a lot and have grown really nicely together. Still, I doubt my ex-wife has completely embraced our couple's way of life. She still seems to be seeking for or implying a second try. She still goes to individual therapy while working out at the gym. She seems far healthier overall now, but I don't really give a damn. I've reconciled with the past. Her issue stems from not following suit. Now, she talks more with the other betrayed partner. This is reciprocated, but the other betrayed partner routinely sees her with mistrust, as she should, given all that has happened. OM is a cause gone lost. I had no idea what a disaster the man would be, all that money and no brains would create. Currently he has a girlfriend, but his children hate her and are rather honest about it. I needed some time to realize how self-absorbing the man was. To be honest, I also dislike his girlfriend. She strikes me as being quite cruel toward the girls, materialistic and selfish. In other words, we're performing better than just good. I had my questions about whether this was the correct route, but given the hard work of the people engaged, it is working out quite brilliantly. Not a happily ever after, just right now. Well, you have it right. Now everyone may relax easily.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. My bestie recently divorced from her husband, and her life took a twisted turn I never expected. I want to pull her out of it, but my husband won't let me. My 40 female best friend, 38 female, is going through a divorce with her husband, 44 male. We'll call them Alice and Ken. My husband, 37 male, and I have been together for 10 years and have always been close with Ken and Alice. Alice and I have been friends since long before we met either of our partners. We met in college, sharing dorm rooms and countless late-night study sessions that turned into deep conversations and laughter. We saw each other through bad breakups, celebrated each other's achievements, and even traveled together before life got complicated with jobs and families. Alice was my maid of honor, and I was hers. Our bond has always been unbreakable. My husband and Ken have become good friends over the years too. They initially bonded over their shared love of sports and quickly found more common ground. Ken, a tradesman who works out of his metal shop on their property, and my husband, a tech guy who loves to tinker with gadgets, often spend hours in Ken's shop, sharing beers and swapping stories about work and life. They hang out just the two of them semi-frequently, enjoying activities that range from fishing trips to helping each other with home improvement projects. Alice has a daughter, a bright 12-year-old from Alice's previous relationship, who became a part of our extended family. Ken has been her dad since she was 4, and it was clear he adored her as his own. My husband and I have always treated her like a niece, often including her in our outings and holiday celebrations. About a month ago, Ken told Alice he wanted a divorce. When Alice told me, she was devastated, and I could see the pain in her eyes. She confessed that for the last 6 months, their marriage had been on rocky ground. According to her, the problem stemmed from Ken's issues with her job. 3 years ago, Alice accepted a promotion at her company, a big step up that came with significant responsibilities. This promotion required her to travel 3 to 4 months out of the year, and even when she wasn't on assignment, she worked a lot. Late nights, early mornings, weekends. It seemed like she was always on the clock. She's always been insanely ambitious and successful, climbing the corporate ladder with an impressive determination that I've admired for years. Ken, on the other hand, is a skilled tradesman. He works full-time out of his metal shop on their property. His work is demanding too, but in a different way. He stays busy with projects, clients, and managing his own business. Despite his hard work, Alice's income had surpassed his, although I wouldn't call her the breadwinner. They both contributed significantly to their household, but the dynamics had shifted. Alice told me that Ken had been increasingly vocal about his dissatisfaction with her job. He felt neglected, like their relationship was taking a back seat to her career. He had asked her multiple times to either take a position that required less travel and responsibility, or find a new job altogether. She had always promised to consider it but had been putting it off, hoping he would eventually drop the subject. This ongoing conflict created a rift between them that widened over time. The situation reached a boiling point when Alice extended a business trip without consulting Ken. She had forgotten about a family vacation they had planned for when she got back. Her priorities seemed clear to Ken, and he felt like he was being pushed aside. When she returned home from the extended trip, she found that Ken had packed his belongings and moved most of his shop and tools into storage. He hadn't given her any indication that he was planning to leave, acting like everything was fine until that moment. She called me. When I answered the phone, Alice was crushed. She kept saying, "I didn't think he'd do it," over and over. The sadness she initially felt quickly turned to anger when Ken made it clear that there was no chance of getting back together. He had reached his limit, feeling that Alice had checked out of their relationship ever since she took the new position. He believed they no longer did anything as a family, that Alice didn't make time for them to talk when she traveled, and that she prioritized socializing with coworkers over him. Their sex life had dwindled to nothing, and every time he voiced his concerns, she blew him off. Ken's resentment had been building up for a long time, and the extended business trip was the last straw. He felt ignored, unloved, and unappreciated. Alice's ambition and success, traits that once drew them together, were now driving them apart. As Alice recounted all this to me, I could sense her frustration. She felt torn between her career, which she was passionate about, and her marriage, which was falling apart. She didn't want to choose between them, but it seemed like Ken had already made the choice for her. Everything became much worse after a particular incident that is hard to even type without cringing. Ken and Alice had been separated for about 3 weeks. Their daughter was bouncing back and forth between Ken's apartment and their old home, where Alice was staying. It was Ken's weekend with their daughter, and he typically brought her back on Sunday evenings. Well, Alice went on a bender and literally forgot what day it was. She was so drunk. She thought it was Saturday, but it was actually Sunday. Ken shows up with their daughter and walks in on a complete shit show. Alice had 2 younger men there. They were drunk and in the hot tub. They weren't in the act, but it was clear what was going on. The scene was chaotic. Empty bottles scattered around, clothes strewn haphazardly, and Alice, visibly intoxicated, was barely coherent. When Ken walked in, Alice started freaking out. She began calling Ken names and screaming that it wasn't Sunday yet. Her words were slurred, and her movements were unsteady. The younger men looked uncomfortable and started gathering their things to leave. Ken, trying to keep his composure, quickly escorted their daughter back to his truck so she didn't see the worst of it. He was furious but kept calm for their daughter's sake. Alice's outburst didn't stop. She kept yelling obscenities and accusations, completely oblivious to the actual day. Ken managed to get their daughter out of there without her witnessing too much, but the damage was done. The next day, Alice had no recollection of what had happened. She woke up with a hangover and a hazy memory of the night before. She had texted Ken horrible things while she was F up. The messages were vile, filled with deeply personal and hurtful comments. Ken showed them to my husband, who then showed them to me. I won't say word for word what they said, but it was really personal shit. The kind of things that cut deep and are hard to forget. Alice's drunken texts accused Ken of being a failure, of never loving her, and she even made derogatory remarks about his manhood. It was as if all her pent-up anger and frustration had been unleashed in a barrage of venomous words. Seeing those texts made my heart ache. This wasn't the Alice I knew. She was spiraling, and it was affecting everyone around her. The incident was a tipping point for Ken. He decided to go nuclear, determined to take her to the cleaners. He wanted the house, full custody of their daughter, and child support. He wasn't just angry, he was done. For Alice, the realization of what she had done hit hard. She tried to apologize, but the damage was irreparable. Ken was adamant that there was no going back. Their daughter, caught in the middle of this chaos, started preferring to stay with Ken, feeling more stable and secure with him. I know this isn't Alice. She's going through shit. She needs friends right now, and I'm literally all she has. Alice's actions that night were a manifestation of her inner turmoil, a desperate cry for help masked by alcohol and poor decisions. It was a moment of weakness that had severe repercussions, rippling through the lives of everyone involved. Her own daughter would rather stay with Ken. I'm not going to cut my best friend out over this. The issue? My husband wants me to cut her out. He's said some really terrible things about her. He's called her a shitty mother. I know she loves her daughter. He's called her a self-absorbed f***ing b***. He says he doesn't want me getting sucked into her drama and behavior. Every time I insist that she'll turn it around and just needs help right now, he shuts it down, saying this is who she really is, and he doesn't know why I want to associate with people like her. I know a lot of this is just shit that Ken has told him, and he's defending his buddy. They've been close for years, and I get it. He's loyal to Ken. But it's different for me. Alice and I have a history that goes way back before either of us met our husbands. I'm not excusing her behavior, but I think it's unreasonable for him to want me to cut my best friend out of my life entirely. Alice has asked me to go out with her a few times recently. She's lonely and going through a really tough time. I went once without telling my husband because I knew what he'd say, and honestly, I just wanted to talk to her in person, to see if I could help her somehow. When I finally told him we had met up, he went ballistic. He accused me of hiding things from him, which, okay, I did, but only because I knew he wouldn't understand. He repeated that if I don't cut her out we'd have issues too. It's like he's drawing a line in the sand, and I'm stuck in the middle. On one side, there's my husband, who's been my rock for a decade, the person I share my life with. On the other side, there's Alice, my best friend, who's like a sister to me. Cutting her out feels like betraying a part of myself, a part of my past and everything we've been through. Update. This is not a happy update. Alice and I arranged to meet on Saturday morning. I planned to bring coffee and assist her with some tasks around her house before her business trip on Monday. My goal was to express our collective concern, her family's and mine, about her well-being and to let her know we all want her to be happy, though her recent behavior has been troubling. I hoped we could have a sincere conversation, that I'd reconnect with the friend I knew, that she'd agree to seek therapy, and that she'd start moving in a positive direction. None of that happened. She was combative from the second I showed up at her place, almost like she knew what my intentions were before I even said anything. Her defensive posture and curt tone were immediate red flags. When I told her I was worried about her, she brushed it off, insisting that she was fine and just blowing off steam, having some fun. She claimed that after all her hard work, she deserved to let loose, especially now that Ken had left her. Her defiance was palpable. She talked about how ungrateful Ken had been over the years, despite all her hard work and the financial support she provided. She listed everything she'd paid for and done for him, framing herself as the martyr in their relationship. It made me cringe to hear her speak this way because it was so out of character. She had always been the strong, independent one. But now, it felt like she was rewriting their history to fit her narrative. For the record, Ken is a hard-working guy who didn't need her money. He was the breadwinner when they first got together, supporting Alice as she climbed the corporate ladder. While it's true that she makes quite a bit more than him now, in no way was he dependent on her financially. They had always maintained a partnership based on mutual respect and shared responsibilities. Listening to her, it was clear that she was trying to rationalize her recent behavior, painting herself as the victim who had been taken for granted. But I knew better. Ken had supported her through thick and thin, standing by her side as she pursued her career ambitions. Her current perspective was skewed by the pain and anger of their separation. Alice's demeanor didn't change as I tried to reason with her. Every attempt I made to bring the conversation back to her well-being was met with more justifications for her actions. She was adamant that she was just having fun, and that she deserved it after everything she had been through. It was as if she was trying to convince herself as much as she was trying to convince me. Her combative attitude left me at a loss. Some of my friends pointed out it was likely that Alice was cheating on Ken. Reluctantly, I asked her about it. She got extremely defensive, her face flushing with a mix of anger and hurt. She gave me the whole, "I can't believe you'd even ask me that" attitude, her voice rising in indignation. Her reaction was immediate and intense, as if the very suggestion was an unforgivable betrayal on my part. I reminded her about the hot tub incident and how bad it looked. I painted the picture again. Ken walking in with their daughter while she was in the hot tub with two younger men, visibly intoxicated. The scene had scandal written all over it. But Alice blew it off, swearing she'd never cheated. She insisted that nothing inappropriate had happened, that it was just a night of harmless fun. When I pressed further and asked who the guys were, she admitted they were interns at her company. Her admission came with a nonchalant shrug, like it was no big deal. I could feel my stomach turn as I asked how old they were. Her response? They were legal. The way she said it made me shudder, a cold and dismissive tone that sounded more like something a dirty old man would say about younger women. It was gross and unsettling. Her flippant attitude didn't sit right with me. I could sense she was trying to downplay the whole situation, to brush it off as inconsequential. But the casualness with which she referred to these interns, combined with the scene Ken had walked in on, painted a troubling picture. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than she was letting on. Whether or not she was cheating before the breakup, I don't know. I don't really know anything about this woman anymore. The friend I had known for years, who was once reliable and grounded, now seemed like a stranger. Her actions, her words, and her entire demeanor were so far removed from the Alice I used to know. It was as if she had become someone else entirely, someone I couldn't recognize or understand. This whole ordeal had put me in a difficult position. I wanted to support her, to help her through this rough patch, but her behavior was making it increasingly hard. Here's where things took an unexpected turn. As we chatted, she was packing for her business trip. I asked her where she was going this time. She said Dallas. I didn't think anything of it. She's gone to Dallas for business dozens of times. But what struck me as odd was what she was packing. Long pants, sweatshirts, a beanie, jackets, hiking boots. It was all fall attire and not what she'd be wearing in Dallas this time of year. The weather in Dallas was still warm, so her choice of clothing made no sense. I don't think I even saw her pack work clothes, which was even more puzzling given the purpose of her trip. But the weirdest thing? A random Seattle Mariners jersey. Alice doesn't follow baseball. She never has. Seeing that jersey among her things made my mind race with questions. Why would she need a baseball jersey for a business trip to Dallas? The more I thought about it, the stranger it seemed. I wanted to ask her about it, to get to the bottom of this odd packing list, but I kept my questions to myself. I didn't want to seem intrusive or accusatory, especially given how defensive she had been lately. Despite my growing unease, I tried to stay positive. Alice seemed preoccupied with her packing, her movements hurried and almost frantic. Her daughter was coming over soon, adding to the sense of urgency in the room. I decided it was best to leave her to it, not wanting to add to her stress. We hugged before I left. I told her I loved her and that I wanted her to be happy. I emphasized that I hoped she would consider seeing a therapist when she got back from her trip. She looked at me with a mix of emotions and said, "I'll think about it." It was a small concession, but I clung to it, hoping it might lead to something positive. As I walked out the door, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The bizarre packing choices, the evasive answers, everything felt wrong. But I didn't push it. I wanted to trust that Alice knew what she was doing, even though my gut told me otherwise. When I got home, hubby and I sat down to talk about how things went with Alice. I told him about the clothes she was packing, long pants, sweatshirts, a beanie, jackets, and hiking boots, and the random Seattle Mariners jersey. He thought it was odd too. We both found it strange, but other than it just being odd, we didn't think much of it at the time. But then, hubby went full internet detective. He was determined to figure out what was going on. After a bit of searching, he discovered something that made my heart sink. Guess who lives in Seattle and has a Facebook profile picture of himself at a Mariners game? Her daughter's biological father. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. When I checked the Mariners' schedule, they did have home games next week. I called Alice immediately, my hands trembling as I dialed her number. When she picked up, I tried to keep my voice steady. "Are you really going to Dallas?" I asked. She responded casually. "Yeah, why?" I took a deep breath and pressed on. "Are you sure you're not going to see her ex in Seattle?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line, probably a full minute of silence that felt like an eternity. I could feel the tension mounting. "Alice, you better not lie to me, I'll find out," I warned her. Finally, she came clean. She admitted that she had gotten in contact with him right after Ken left her and that they'd been talking more and more. She claimed he was a different man now, that he had turned his life around. She launched into a spiel about how he had changed, how he was more responsible and stable now, how he wanted to be a part of his daughter's life again. But all I heard was blah blah blah. I was furious and heartbroken. This man had caused her so much pain in the past, and now she was letting him back into her life. After everything she had been through with Ken, the last thing she needed was to get involved with someone who had hurt her so deeply before. The fact that she had lied to me, that she had planned this whole trip under false pretenses, made it even worse. I didn't know what to say. I was filled with a mix of anger, disappointment, and fear for what this could mean for her and her daughter. I didn't talk about her baby daddy in the last post because it wasn't relevant. But just know this man is a piece of shit human being. He cheated on her while she was pregnant and kicked her out when she confronted him. He'd slap her around, call her terrible names, and degrade her in ways that no one should ever have to endure. This f***ing guy even had the audacity to say he wanted nothing to do with their child. When Alice finally reached out to me, desperate and broken, I didn't hesitate. I flew to Seattle, picked her up, and brought her home. She stayed with me for a bit, trying to piece her life back together. Those days were tough. Alice was a shell of herself, dealing with the trauma of abuse and the daunting task of raising a newborn alone. But Alice, being the resilient woman she is, slowly started to rebuild. She found strength in her daughter, who became her beacon of hope. Not long after moving in with me, she met Ken. He was a breath of fresh air, a kind, hard-working man who treated her with the respect and love she so desperately needed. Within a year of dating, they moved in together, and Ken embraced the role of a father to her daughter with open arms. He provided stability and affection, something Alice hadn't experienced in a long time. Ken was there for the milestones, her daughter's first steps, first words, and first day of school. He was the one who stayed up all night when she had a fever, who taught her how to ride a bike, who read her bedtime stories. In every sense that mattered, he was her father. Their little family seemed perfect, a stark contrast to the nightmare Alice had escaped. Thinking back to those days, it's painful to see how far things have fallen apart. Alice went from being in a loving, supportive relationship to the mess she's in now. The memory of what she went through with her baby daddy only makes her current choices more baffling and worrisome. She knows firsthand the kind of person he is, yet she's letting him back into her life. It's like watching her walk back into a burning building. The thought of her daughter potentially being exposed to that man again is unbearable. She deserves better. Alice deserves better. But she's so lost right now, so blinded by her pain and confusion, that she can't see it. It's like she's forgotten the horrors of her past and is willing to risk everything for a man who never deserved a second chance. All of this makes me fear for her even more. I told her that of all the shit she's pulled recently, this was by far the worst thing she could do. My voice was shaking with anger and disappointment as I laid it out for her. I couldn't believe she would ever speak to that man, after what he did to her, and how he treated her. She kept saying it was years ago, that he had changed, and that he wanted to meet his daughter one day. But that didn't matter to me. The scars he left, both physical and emotional, were still fresh in my mind, even if she chose to forget them. When she said he wanted to meet his daughter, something inside me snapped. I started screaming and yelling into the phone so loud I think I blew out my voice. Are you out of your mind? After everything he did to you, to us, you're going to let him back into your life? Into your daughter's life? I was beyond furious, my anger fueled by years of witnessing her pain and suffering because of that man. I told her I was done with her. I told her if she gets on that plane to Seattle, to not bother contacting me ever again. I hung up on her. She called back and texted once, but I ignored it. I didn't have the energy for her anymore. I just sat on the couch crying all night while my husband held me. He didn't rub it in. He didn't give me an attitude. He just let me cry and told me he was sorry. Sorry that my best friend was making such destructive choices. Sorry that I was caught in the middle of this mess. Sorry that there was nothing he could do to fix it. I felt completely drained, emotionally and physically. The weight of my words and the finality of what I had said hung heavy in the air. This was the woman who had been my confidant, my rock, my sister in every way that mattered. And now, I was watching her walk down a path that I knew would lead to nothing but more heartache and devastation. The realization that I might have lost her for good was almost too much to bear. I couldn't understand how she could be so blind, so willing to rewrite history for a man who had only brought her pain. The memories of helping her rebuild her life, of watching her grow stronger and more independent, now seemed distant and futile. It was like all the progress she had made was slipping away, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. My husband's arms around me were the only thing keeping me from falling apart completely. Alice texted me this morning. She said she was sorry for lying to me but that she's a big girl now and can look after herself. Her words were a slap in the face, a dismissive wave of her hand as she brushed off my concerns and our history. It was as if everything we had been through together, all the support I had given her, meant nothing. Her stubborn pride was leading her down a dangerous path, and there was nothing more I could do to stop it. I asked her if she was still going to Seattle. There was a part of me that hoped she might change her mind, that she might see reason and reconsider. But her reply was a simple, unyielding, yes. That one word sealed the deal. I felt a mix of anger and sadness as I blocked her number. It was over. With a heavy heart, I told Ken everything. He was upset but not surprised. His eyes held a sadness that mirrored my own. He said he knew how close Alice and I were and that he was sorry I'd lost my friend. His empathy was comforting, a small solace in the midst of the turmoil. I told him I was sorry he'd lost his wife, that the woman he had loved and supported had drifted so far from him. You guys were right. I feel like a fucking idiot. Maybe it's a little selfish of me, but I feel betrayed. I had invested so much into our friendship, had stood by her side through thick and thin, only to watch her throw it all away. The sense of betrayal cut deep, leaving a wound that I wasn't sure would ever fully heal. Alice's decision to reconnect with the man who had caused her so much pain was a betrayal not just of our friendship, but of herself and her daughter. She was undoing all the progress she had made, and it was heartbreaking to witness. I felt powerless, knowing that I had done everything I could and still failed to save her from herself. The memories of our friendship, once a source of comfort and joy, now felt tainted by the recent events. Every laugh, every shared secret, every moment of support and understanding was overshadowed by her betrayal. It was a harsh reminder that sometimes, no matter how much you care for someone, you can't save them from their own choices. As I sat there, processing the end of our friendship, I felt a mix of emotions. Anger, sadness, disappointment, and a lingering sense of guilt. Had I done enough? Could I have done more? These questions haunted me, even though I knew the answers wouldn't change the outcome. Alice had made her choice, and now I had to live with mine. I just lost a friend. A part of my life. My friend lost his wife. And worst, a kid just lost her mom. No matter how challenging life becomes, there will always be someone willing to extend a helping hand and guide you through your darkest times. Once you find such individuals, it is essential to cherish and maintain those relationships. Additionally, while work plays a vital role in our lives, it is crucial to balance professional responsibilities with family commitments. Your family serves as your sanctuary, a place of solace when external circumstances become turbulent. Failure to strike this balance may result in losing what you hold most dear. Prioritizing both your career and personal life is imperative for long-term fulfillment and stability. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.
I discovered my stepmom's Reddit account and was shocked to find out how much she hates me and my siblings. I'm really pissed off and want to vent. I even cried reading the things she said, and I don't know what to do. I don't need any advice, I just want to vent. My father has been married to my stepmother for 5 years. He has been divorced from my mother since my younger brother was 2 years old. There's no beef between them and they have a great co-parenting. I have a 17-year-old sister, a 16-year-old brother, and I'm 25. Then my father has a 3-year-old son with my stepmother. I found her Reddit account in a pretty random way. Since I'm only home on the weekends, I let her use my computer. She forgot to close her email because I was able to come home during the week. She doesn't post too much, but she comments too much. I was honestly going to close the email, but it caught my attention that all the replies were from an step-parent subreddit, so curiosity won me over. I know, it's not a good thing to do, and curiosity killed the cat. The first thing I saw was her last post, in which she detailed things about my life in a random Reddit sub, criticizing my decisions and even lying to get people to support her. She has posts on that site talking about how happy she feels when my siblings are not at home. My sister adores her, but she has comments talking about how she can't wait for them to turn 18 and leave the house because she just wants to share the house with her family. My father and her toddler, it seems that she doesn't see us as her family. She has a lot of comments answering other people that it's totally okay to not love your stepchildren because they're not family, and it's okay not to consider them one. She has comments talking about how much it bothers her when my dad and brother have sleepovers. They just watch a series in the playroom and then go to sleep, as she is tired of hearing the laughter of a teenager and can't wait until we all leave the house so my father can be with his real family. But what she hates the most is having to learn sign language for my little sister. It had always seemed strange to me that SM still struggles with sign language, but now I know that she never really put in the effort to learn. My sister always said that for many people sign language is very difficult, so I never said anything. But now I know that she always found stupid to learn how to communicate with my sister when my sister always tried to help her. I was too surprised by the hatred she has when my father spends time with me and my sister. Her jealousy towards us is so obvious that it disgusts me that there were so many people who told her how they feel the same way about their SDs. To the point of sexualizing things by saying too many disgusting things that I don't even want to say here. My siblings are not problem children, they even love her very much, and what fills me with anger the most is that she is so false in front of us. Do you know the number of times I offered to babysit my half-brother so she and my dad can go on a date? All those times she refused to let me take care of him, but now I saw comments that she left about how I am living at my father's house and I don't help her at all, only for other people to respond saying that she should give my father an ultimatum to make me leave because I'm too old to live with him and he has a new family. I cook my food, do my laundry, I help my father pay the bills while she doesn't, and normally only come home on the weekends because I'm doing a police academy almost full week. I don't even care if I'm making it too obvious who I am. It was my father who told me to move back with him so that when I come back from the academy on Friday nights it will be a shorter trip. She sexualizes my interactions with my father, saying that it is not normal for me to sleep a nap hugging him and that I should know my place. He is my father, what the hell wrong with her? I'm so disgusted. I have the comments, I have the post. I have even comments from years ago and I will use them, I don't care. Comments. Comment 1, show dad her posts. Comment 2, this, show your father what she really thinks of you all. Because once you're all eventually out and she gets her wish, she's going to work double time to keep it that way and isolate him. Update 1. I decided to delete the post because for now I can't tell anyone what happened because I'll basically be locked up in the academy until Friday morning. In fact, I shouldn't even be using my cell phone now. Someone with too much free time shared the situation in that sub of step-parents to warn my SM. I have screenshots of everything, including a video showing that it is her email and showing the comments. If she sees that post, what will she do? Delete the account? I already have the proof. But I don't want my siblings to find out before I tell them, and I know that those types of posts usually end up in those TikTok that re-upload posts without permission, so I prefer to delete the post so that it doesn't stand out even more. Although my siblings don't use Reddit or that kind of content. I'm going to post again in that sub when I talk about everything with my family, so I hope Redditors know how to keep the secret of the post for now. I know they won't, ha ha ha. Being a stepmom is hard. Yes, one thing is feeling that you're having a hard time, and another totally different thing is making a post saying that you hate it when your stepdaughter is around her father because you think she's going to fuck him, TF. It is not the same to say being a step-parent is stressful, than to say honestly learning SL is unnecessary. BC when the girl turns 18 I will not see her again, it is a waste of time since she can read lips. Also some people complained about me hugging my dad. I also took a nap hugging my mother or my siblings. I'm sorry for having a family that loves me and are not perverts who see a hug as something sexual. Probably next week I will be able to maybe give an update. The academy keeps me working almost all day. Comments. Comment 1. It's already on TikTok. That's how I found this post. OP. I hope that for now it does not appear in my siblings' FYP. Comment 2. As soon as it's posted on Boru it's on TikTok. Update 2. Hi. For now I'm going to post this little update here since I haven't spoken to my father yet, but I spoke with my siblings and mom. I told my dad that I was staying at a friend's house when I left the academy, but I actually went to my mom's house and told her everything. She doesn't even know what Reddit is, that site isn't used too much here, but I translated the comments and posts for her. I showed her the videos and my mom was furious. I explained to her that in the comments BM it's Madre Biologica. I was confused about it too the first time I read that, also with SM. So my SM also made comments and posts complaining about my mother being that they have always had a cordial treatment. But still my SM was lying saying that my mother was troublesome. No one in the comments said anything, everyone supported her and they recommended that she should move far away with her legal family, far away from the problematic BM and kids. First we told my brother, who was also upset and said that she was a fake but that he has seen her ignore my sister and pretend that she does not see or hear her a lot of times. He explained that like me it also seems strange to him that SM has not yet learned sign language. My siblings spend a lot of time at my father's house. Just like English or Spanish, sign language is much easier to learn if you live with someone who uses it every day, therefore it is strange that SM doesn't use it. He said that even my father has offered to pay for her classes but she says she doesn't have time. We asked him if he noticed any other behavior of that kind and he said that SM doesn't let him take care of our younger brother, which she also does with me, but curiously she does let our sister take care of him, so I don't understand that. Other than that, she's never treated him badly or anything like that. At the time of telling my sister she was the most hurt, she cried especially because of SM's comments towards me calling me a whore. It's kind of ironic how the comments towards her affected me and the comments towards me affected her, haha. Something that my sister noticed that I didn't is that almost all of SM's comments are criticizing me, my sister and even my mother. But my brother, she has only criticized sleepovers or when he comes back late from being with his friends. But she has criticized my and my sister's clothes, made up things about my life, confessed that she hates it when we hug our father, she said we're too clingy, she talked badly about my mother, etc. My sister said it's sexist and maybe she's got some mental problem. My sister said she always believed SM didn't really hear her and she maybe wasn't speaking well and didn't understand her. I think that's the shittiest thing of all. My sister's greatest pride is being able to pronounce some words no matter how short they are or if they sound like noise for some people. We understand her, but SM made her feel insecure every time she ignored her. I know that my sister always justified that by believing that it was her mistake and that SM made an effort to learn but it was simply more difficult for her, but now we know that no, she was never interested in learning. I'm getting mad again as I write this, sorry. My mother said she was going to talk to both of them, mainly because even though it's an anonymous site, SM's way of expressing herself is sick and she's not going to let my siblings be around someone like that. Oh, but she's venting, being a stepmom is lonely. I received comments like that. It's not the same to say I feel lonely and I feel stressed, than to say my stepdaughter behaves like a slut, just because me and my minor sister uses a bikini for the pool. Her account is old, she's been leaving comments like that for years. With lies, with complaints we never heard before. It's just messed up. We arranged that we're going to tell our father all together and show him everything, so we're probably going to tell him tomorrow because I need to leave for the academy on Monday. My SM account has not been deleted. It's crazy how she makes things up to get approval from strangers. At this point I don't even know if she's crazy or a mythomaniac. I would like to go back to her email since the password is saved, but I don't know if she will receive a notification of that because this time I closed the account. Update 3. We talked to my father over the weekend. For now he is staying at my mother's house. It is a complicated situation since in the middle of everything is my half-sibling too. During the weekend I went to my father's house and the first thing I did was tell my stepmom separately that I've seen her Reddit account and I'm going to talk about it with my dad. She told me that I can't condemn her for something she uses as an intimate diary, but I told her that this is not a diary, it is a social network where she makes her problems and lies public. If someone other than me discovered her account, then what was going to happen? Were they going to believe all the things she invented? If her identity was revealed on that account by someone else, I would have too many problems and could even be kicked out of the academy. Again, there's a big difference between saying I'm stressed and, my stepdaughters behave like sluts around their father. I simply told her that my mother and sister also know it and would come to talk about it too. She for obvious reasons just went to lock herself in her room not wanting to talk with me. Once we talked to my father I showed him most of the posts and comments. There were so many crazy comments that I think it would take me too long to read them all because they were just so long too. She's that kind of people who comments the bio of their lives in the posts of other people. My father got angry. My SM never expressed having a single problem with us like that. The situation would be different if we knew what she thinks about us. My father went to look for my SM who refused to talk about it and was mostly angry with me for violating her privacy. My father told her that she's insane for thinking that my sister and I sexually provoked him, that he can't believe the way she talks about my sister and the happiness she expresses every time my sister goes to the hospital and is not home, how she expresses to be counting the days until my sibling stops going to the house forever. My father told her that she knew that he is a father and that he would never leave us aside. She made her decision, and even so, instead of talking about her problems she decided to create an account to play at being a victim. She said she needs a place to vent, but he told her that venting is not the same as telling lies. Venting is not the same as hating your stepdaughters and talking horrible things about them, and she could have spoken about it and not just lied. They argued a lot, but it didn't get anywhere because she kept defending herself and my father only told her that it was over. My mother told my father that she is not going to let my sister and brother be around a woman who is clearly mentally unstable because no normal person thinks like that. After arguing too much and even trying to make SM understand that what she did is wrong, she just justified herself all the time. My father went with us and told her that he is going to come back just to see my brother every day, but that he no longer trusts her and never saw that side of her. She lied for so many years. Nothing really went as I expected because I expected her to be more mature. I think I at least hoped that she could apologize, but I think she doesn't even think that what she did is wrong. In her mind everything was totally justified because being a stepmother is difficult, but nothing justifies her being so cruel and poisonous. But yeah, that's what happened. I think it's hurtful to know that someone can hide that much darkness inside. I wasn't too close with her, but I liked her, to the point of sharing my clothes and things with her, so I also feel sad about it. Mostly for my dad. Comments. Comment 1. Wow. Just wow. You think you know someone and then 1 second, bam. I am so sorry you and your family are dealing with this. SM is off her rocker. Does she need constant attention and approval? She needs therapy and most likely the whole family because this is a traumatic event and major trust issues are now forming. Stay well, stay strong. OP. Comment 2. I am happy that your father stood up for you all. I got kicked out of step-parent Reddit because it was clear that some step-parents were unhinged and hated their stepkids with a passion. OP. Yeah, I even had to delete the first post because I was told that someone had made a post in that sub to alert my SM.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.